Hey, it's Kathy Hahn. Welcome to session 3 of your VIP Destination Intensive Training. I am so excited because we're really going to be digging in today. We're going to be figuring out how in the world do you actually find these clients to actually do the intensives with you. So, without further ado, let's go. Now, the best way to find intensive clients is for you to be somebody who attracts these high-end clients. And do you want to know the secret to doing that? Are you listening? You should become an intensive client yourself. What a novel idea. So when you create and invest in that energy, you are going to be empowered enough to attract clients at that level. For example, I am a business coach who coaches coaches. I would be out of integrity if I said that, oh, you should hire a coach, but then I don't have a coach myself. So putting my money where my mouth is, I have actually more than one coach. I haven't counted, but I think there's probably 4 or 5 coaches that I have. Plus I have mastermind groups that I'm part of. I operate at a very high frequency, and I'm super productive as a result of that. You can start advertising your intensives to your current client base. Otherwise, let's say that you are a brand new coach, you can still start advertising these intensives. You just would probably do it at a lower rate than somebody who's got an established client base. And the really cool thing about intensives are they tend to be a lower price option than your like 90-day package. And so it's a great introductory rate for your clients. So let's talk about where you can find these women or men or whoever it is that you want to serve. You can find them by having like high-end seminars or classes, whether you are actually having them yourself or actually attending one. Now, if you're on my list or follow me anywhere in social media, you know that every single event I've ever been to, when I get back, that's when I quantum leap in business. I live literally in the middle of nowhere, Iowa. And so I do have to travel in order to meet other like-minded people. So I'm constantly going to different like seminars and classes. And I'm actually having an event September 22nd, and I'd love to see you there. But that's a great place to network with potential clients who are willing to invest at that higher level because you know that they have already invested in a personal development conference. Another place you can find them is if you hold a webinar, or let's say you do like a conference call, just talking about different products and services, or even giving a training. That way, people can get a taste of what it is that you do, how you serve, and how well you serve. So if you're providing that value, then they're going to want to work with you. And if they're anything like me, they always want like the highest package, VIP experience. Another way you can do that is by actually having a speaking engagement. So, you know, you're going to all these different conferences and such. However, have you ever thought about speaking at one? Now, I think it was about 7 years ago when I attended my first like real personal development conference. I think I ended up spending like $300 or $400 on it. And I remember thinking, holy smokes, that's a lot of money. It was in St. Louis, and I spent literally every last dime I had to get there and back. And so much so that I did not eat food that entire trip, save for a banana that my roommate had given me. We packed 6 of us in this tiny hotel room because we were all broke. So that was my first conference that I attended. And then I ended up attending a bunch more because every single time I would quantum leap. For example, like when I got back from Paris last year, almost a year ago, I ended up signing 9 clients within, just a week of returning. So do you see how powerful they can be? Not just for like networking and everything, but people are attracted to that high vibration that you exude. There may become a point where you're attending all of these conferences and you're looking around in the audience. You're like, what am I doing here in the audience? I should be on that stage. That's exactly the shift that I made after probably a year or 2. So go ahead and get yourself that speaking engagement. You can sign up for something like Speaker Hub, where you can apply for different events. just do like a search for women's conferences. You can find all kinds of them. So when you speak at an event, you are already considered an expert. So people are going to want to flock to you as a result. So that makes you more credible and you'll be able to command those higher fees. You can also offer a free assessment. For example, like as a business coach, I can offer like a social media audit that helps build that know, like, and trust factor before moving them into a discovery session. You could also, if you've got an established list, you can offer your intensives to the people on your list. You could post it on social media. Now, if you're in Facebook groups, don't post the same post to every single Facebook group you're in, because while there's a bajillion people on Facebook, the industry itself is not that big. And so if you're posting the same post for holding an intensive in like 5 different ones, people are going to see that as spam because they're probably in the same groups. So figure out where it is that your dream clients hang out on social media, and then build that relationship, provide value, and then when appropriate, you can offer your intensive. Now, if you have your own Facebook group, this is great too, because people are already in your Facebook group because they think of you as that expert and a leader, and you are commanding that authority. And so if you are providing daily value and support to your people, you can usher them through into working with you. And that first stop could definitely be an intensive. We also know how powerful video can be. It helps put a face to the sound, builds that know, like, and trust factor. So when people can see that authority, they're going to be more likely to trust you. So increase the amount of times that you do your videos, doing Facebook Lives, doing Instagram stories. That's why you've been seeing a lot more of my face lately. Now that we have an idea of where you can find these potential intensive clients, let's talk about some of the coaching skills that you would use during an intensive. The first one, and probably most important one, is that you are attending to your client's agenda. Remember how during session 2 we talked about how we're going to write their goals up on that big sticky note, like the poster size sticky note? That's the agenda you want to go by, not by your own agenda. You may think that you know what it is that's good for them. However, and there is an element of truth to that because you are the expert and they've hired you for that. But if you go in there saying, oh, you need to focus on video, and you have somebody who is like deathly afraid of video, like if you are forcing them to do video, they are going to be so much less likely to actually do it when you're not there than if you ease them into it. Another thing is, what happens if you have a client who you don't necessarily agree with? They say something, you're like, you don't want to tell them that they're wrong. However, you want to confidently shift the perspective. And the way that you can do that is say something like, oh, you know what? I've never looked at it this way. Here's where I'm coming from, or here's how I see this, or here's why you want to do it this way, because then it avoids XYZ. So you're not telling them that they're wrong, because nobody likes to hear that they're wrong, I promise you. Now, let's say that you are in a session and there's something that's very sensitive. I always ask permission to coach them in those sensitive areas. For example, you'd be surprised how many of my business coaching clients come to me who are in the middle of a breakup or a divorce or something similar. And you want to tread carefully on those types of things, just because you are not involved in the outcome of whatever happens. And so, you want to coach them in the best way for them. You also want to be very sensitive and ask permission. So for example, if a client alludes to the fact that they, have an abusive husband, like a verbally abusive husband or something, rather than just saying, so is your husband abusive? You can say something like, Sharon, do I have your permission to discuss your relationship with your husband? Or you could say something like, do I have your permission to be myself with you if there's ever like something where you just really need to like call them out for something. I always ask for permission, because then it helps kind of diffuse that, and it's not just coming out of left field. You also want to express genuine concern rather than just bulldozing them and going on to the next question. If your client is sitting there telling you something that's really like powerful or sensitive, you can pause and say, wow, thank you for sharing that with me. That took a lot of courage, before going on to talk about what happened, because you want to acknowledge them for that monumental step that they took in confiding in you. You also want to be sure that you are respecting your client's perceptions. So you can lead them to a certain destination, but if they're not willing to go there, it's just not going to happen. You have to respect that. Now, for me, what a lot of people don't realize is I'm actually kind of funny. At least my friends think so. So I like to use humor appropriately during the intensives, just to kind of diffuse some of that tension sometimes. Usually clients are really, really nervous when they first come for the intensive, or even if you have like one-on-one coaching clients who are just coaching like via Skype or something. It's just, they're always nervous in the beginning because they don't know what to expect. It's something that they've been waiting for a while. It's a big leap for them. But no matter what you do, you want to make sure that you are present and flexible with them. So you're not getting distracted by like your phone. Always put that away during your session. Like we talked about during session 2, you need to be flexible in the actual intensive itself. So if your client's going through a breakthrough, you don't want to just shift it to how they need to use their social media or something. You also want to mirror back to them what your client said, build on their ideas. Sometimes you'll have a client who's like super long-winded and wants to tell you these long stories. What I like to do is I want a client to like get to the point of it rather than allowing the engagement to continue, because you don't want their time to feel wasted. So asking open-ended questions, such as perhaps a client is telling you that they really hate sales because it just feels like icky to them. Instead of saying, oh, well, here's how you can get through that, you can ask them, well, what part of it feels icky for you? Because again, you're coaching them. You're not trying to fix their problems. You're trying to help them explore why it is that they feel that way. Your questions are supposed to be designed to move your client towards whatever it is that they want. So you can use language that's appropriate to your client, such as like metaphors, analogies. Sometimes you have to break it down for them pretty simply. Now let's say that a client is telling you something that you don't agree with. Let's say that they're a business coach and they're approaching their business one way and you're thinking, oh my gosh, what a train wreck of a business. Of course, you're not going to tell your client that, but what you can do is you can identify whatever their strengths are in their idea and then their areas for improvement without it feeling like they're being attacked. And remember, you're not a consultant, you are a coach. And so you are going to help the client define those action steps that they need to take versus telling them what their action steps are. That's helping promote active self-discovery. Now, as a coach, you would be doing a disservice to them if you did not tell them the truth. If you think that a certain idea should be done differently, or let's say that you have a client who is constantly not doing what it is that they need to do, like rather than ignoring the elephant in the room, address it. For example, if If you have a client who's on their 5th marriage and every single one of them was abusive in some way, shape, or form, after asking permission, it's okay to bring it up and say, what do you think it is that has found you in this pattern 5 times? Some other things you can do is you can celebrate them for the things that they've done really well, challenge whatever their assumptions might be about things, providing support to them, setting a safe space for them, a comfortable pace of learning, helping them identify additional resources. Perhaps they need to outsource some things to like a VA or something. You also want to make sure that you are not dropping the ball on your client. There's nothing more frustrating than a professional or an alleged professional who doesn't do what they say they're going to do. That is it for session 3. And so next we are going to dive into pricing and how you can get your first intensive client. I can't wait to share that with you. Please leave me your feedback, whether you respond to email or shoot me a message on Facebook. I would love to hear what you think of this training.